Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Nick Atkin on South China Morning Post, SCMP MMA. This is the post-fight podcast. That is Chris Edwards-Bailey over there. How you doing, Chris? Good to see you again.
Yeah, I'm absolutely fantastic. On the pod 2 times already this week, getting ready for arguably one of the biggest weekends in MMA in the year. You know, with a Rising show, a Bellator show, PFL coming up tonight, one championship on Friday night, and the UFC on Sunday. It's absolutely jam-packed at the moment.
It's too jam-packed. It's
Yeah,
too
that's
jam-packed.
it.
We got so much. Yeah, one championship. Luckily, that card was taped months ago,
Yeah.
so not really paying too much attention to it. Otherwise, this week would be hell. But yeah, we are going to talk a little bit about UFC 263. I think we're going to make our picks, and we're going to talk a little bit of news. There's some hot topics like Anthony Pettis, Fabricio Werdum. They're both out there PFL fights. There's some Paolo Costa beef with the UFC and Dana being Dana. We're going to get into all of that. But yeah, I think first we're just going to make a few picks. So let's bring up this screen. But you know the deal, Chris. If they
Yeah.
don't know, what do these people need to do right now?
You need to get onto the App Store. You need to get on the Huawei Gallery. You need to get onto the Google Play Store. You need to download the best app in the game, the Fanatics, the Fantasy MMA app. We're all on there. Everyone over here. There's other groups out there. There's a Reddit group. There's a Twitter group. There's other groups of journalists. There's fantastic news on there. Anything that's out there on YouTube in your region. So where we live, PFL, Bellator, and One Championship are all on YouTube. You can link straight through onto those videos to watch it while you make your picks. You can create groups of your friends. You can compare. It's all just play money. It's all just for fun. We do have a monthly leaderboard over here at SCMP MMA. You can get some sweet Kumite TV merch by John Honko. We've got some SCMP MMA gear coming as well. We've got some ready prepared. We've got some more coming out very soon. And it's just a dead fun app. It gives you all the records, all the information about the fighters. You can see who other people are picking. There's even a chat feature, so it's absolutely fantastic. We're all on there. It's absolutely fantastic fun. Download it.
Yep. See on the scrolling ticker there at the bottom of the screen, getfanatics.app/SCMP. It's great fun. Thank you, Chris. Always appreciate the hype there. I know the guys at Fanatics do as well. But why don't we get into it then? Let's stop messing about. Right. UFC 263, 2 title fights plus Nate Diaz against Leon Edwards. Stacked card, to say the least. Let's start at the top there, though. The middleweight champion Israel Adesanya rematch with Marvin Vettori. Who you got?
Wow, this is just such a fascinating fight. Going after the first one, obviously it's a rematch. We all saw the first one. I think was that Adesanya's first fight. That was the fight just before he had his first headline show. Vettori has improved. He's only lost 1 out of his 17 rounds since that fight. But you know what? For me, it is Stylebender. I fancy him. I think Vettori has a decent game plan. I thought in the first fight, I thought Adesanya won it 2-1. I thought he won the first 2 rounds. It was such an odd fight when you do look back on it because Vettori seemed to gas somewhat in the first and then somehow came back and put up a fairly solid defense in the second, and then he definitely won the third round. So he came back from that, which is fantastic. Still only 27, so he has improved since there. But I think on this one, from his last performance, I think we're just going to see the Stylebender himself. I think we're going to see him show he is just right now a class above the rest of the middleweights, the rest of the middleweights in the division. And I'm going with Israel Adesanya in this one.
Yeah, I'm going to join you on that. And I think a lot of people are. 85% of people on the app have picked Israel Adesanya. You can see the odds there heavily favor Stylebender. Minus 250. Vettori plus 220. Make of that what you will. Vettori is on a 5-fight win streak, though, Chris. But for me, do you think he deserves this fight, given he's beaten Jack Manson and Kevin Holland to get there, essentially? Whereas Robert Whittaker put together
the first fight was very close. Not really contentious, but it was close 2-1. I think as well, because Israel Adesanya has beat Bobby Knuckles, he has beat Paolo Costa, he's beat a lot of the other people in the top three. The Hermansson fight was what gave Vittori this fight. Hermansson is a tough MFer. I think he probably does deserve it. I think he gives enough questions. And I think as well, we're in for an absolutely amazing fight because Israel Adesanya seems to, apart from Yo Romero, because that's a bit of an odd case, when you fight someone who has good striking, who also can wrestle, that's when you can get some awesome fights. You had a little bit of that in Paulo Costa. It didn't last as long as we like, but you look at the Kelvin Gastelum fight, someone who's willing to stand and trade and can also use wrestling. I think we could be in for a really good one. I think if it goes to a decision, if Israel can't get the finish, I think it will be a fairly close decision, but I still fancy Israel to get it.
Have you made a method of victory pick here, Chris? Drake Riggs has gone for a decision, interestingly.
Oh, wow.
I'm not brave enough, I think, to pick a method here. You don't have to, but you can do it on the app. Triple or nothing, basically. If you get the method right, you get triple the points. If you get it wrong, you don't get anything, so it's risky.
Yeah, I just don't see... I don't really see it going to a decision, and I think not going to a decision. I don't see a submission by Adesanya, and then it could go to a decision. But Israel Adesanya, he's just so varied in how he bends the styles and whatnot. It's really hard to judge how he's going to finish a fight because, he couldn't finish Kelvin Gastelum, but he finished Paulo Costa.
Yes, well, Tony here in the comments. What's up, Tony? He says, Izzy, second round KO.
Wow.
That's bold. Yeah, so, I mean, Jan Blachowicz has essentially given everyone the roadmap now of how to beat Israel Adesanya, right? You've essentially just got to sit on him. And Vittori figured that out in the third round of their first fight. So are you expecting him, Chris, to just come out and take him down and try and sit on him for 5 rounds?
Yeah, he did try that in all the rounds. And I think in the first round, in the last fight he made... in the last fight, I think he made 1 takedown attempt in the first and 2 in the second. I might be wrong. I haven't watched it for a while. And he was pretty good at the takedowns, but he couldn't do much with it because Israel Adesanya is I'm not gonna say he has bad jiu-jitsu, but his jiu-jitsu and takedown defense is purely defensive. And at the defensive side of the game, he's actually one of the best. But he uses his defense on the ground and in between the periods of the clinch and the ground game and the wrestling, he's very defensive and is very good at standing the fight back up.
All right, well, we'll see how that one unfolds. What about the second title fight, Chris? This another rematch. Davidson Figuerado and Brandon Moreno had their absolute barn burner, didn't they, last time? I think it was December UFC 256, I want to say. Yeah, Sasha was on the card, right? Our man Sasha Palatnikov opened up that card. Absolute war. I mean, Figueiredo am I right in saying he was Dr. Point?
Yeah, he was Dr. Point.
Yeah, just so much drama in that fight, wasn't there? But
yeah, there was so much drama. I remember afterwards, I think we were all complaining. I think some of us had Moreno win it. I think some of us had going the other way. I've watched the fight back, and it's one of those fights that just kind of goes both ways. I do have to agree with anyone, I think, who saw that fight, because I think one of the judges, I've just checked, one of the judges did give it 48-46 to Figueiredo, which I think was probably undeserved. I think to just give Moreno 1 round. I think our friend John Hyun Ko was arguing that Figueiredo still deserved to win with a point deduction. I think the draw was probably the right decision. I'm just really happy to see these two guys go at it again.
Yes, Davis and Figueiredo, -220, heavy favorite here. Brandon, +195. Let's have a little look at the odds in the Fanatics browser here. You can see the line movement. Yes, 81% of users on Fanatics are picking Davidson as well. Do you see a path to victory for Moreno? I mean, arguably, Figueiredo wasn't at his best, you could say, in that fight. They both had a quick turnaround. Do you think Davidson, with a little bit of rest he's had now, is going to be too much for Brandon to handle?
Yeah, quite possibly, but you do have to remember they both came in. They fought on the same fight pay-per-view just before the last time they fought. I think they fought at 254. I think they were both on the 254 card, and they came back on the 256.
255, and they just rolled right out 3 weeks later.
They rolled straight round 3 weeks later. Oh, wow.
They both got quick finishes, I think, in the first round.
Yeah, if you do look back onto that event, I think on the Fanatics app, I think Figueredo was about, I think it was minus 400s-ish going into that fight. You can see the odds have closed now. I think Moreno has an awesome method of victory. I think he's actually such a good fighter. It's really hard to say as well because you do look at those numbers and Figueredo, he is 33, but that is fairly old for a flyweight. And you do think Moreno now, he's still only 27. He's had near enough, I think, almost to the day, 6 months since the previous fight to improve, to get better. You watch some of the embeddeds, he says it's changed his life. He's pretty much professional. He's got some commentary gigs with UFC Espanol. So that's probably earning money. He's got more time to train, I would assume. I think it's going to be a much, much closer fight than a lot of people imagine. I fancy Figueredo just to edge it out, but you know what? I can see it go both ways. I won't be surprised if we actually see these guys fight again in 1 or 2 years' time anyway. But I'm just going to touch Figgy by a touch. I haven't got any method of victory in this one. I think it's a touch too tight.
Yeah, I'm swinging left. You can see it there on screen, hopefully. Chris and I have both gone left. JHK and Mr. Big Rig Drake, who is in Phoenix for this pay-per-view and may actually jump on this podcast in a bit to give us his picks and his he can tell us how he's doing in Phoenix. He's got a very good Airbnb. I know that for a fact. Wow. Yeah, Drake's also picked Davidson. So there we go. Clean sweep from those of us who have made our picks. There's some guilty parties there who haven't picked yet.
Michael Owens as always.
Yeah. I should kick him out. You know, he's useless, isn't he? Yes, I might actually switch my camera because it seems to be one of those days where it just freezes all the time. So bear with me briefly while I do that. I'm having a real technical nightmare today. Everything that could go wrong has gone wrong, and I should be back now. Is that any better, Chris?
Yeah, it seems a little bit better, a little bit less lag.
I'm still frozen on my screen. Anyway, I'll try and deal with that on my end. I think our internet in the office. I am in the SCMP office, and it's been pretty slow all morning. It might be something to do with that. Why don't we go to the next fight? Nate Diaz, Leon Edwards. This was rescheduled. Still a 5-round fight. Is it? It's down here as 3, but I'm pretty sure it's five rounds, right?
It's still down as 5 rounds. Nate Diaz said he was only coming back for 5 rounds. They put him on a pay-per-view. He is really getting the special treatment here. I think this is an absolute bomb burner of a fight.
Yeah, Nate Diaz, he's a big needle mover, isn't he, for the UFC? And I think his absence from the last pay-per-view is going to really hurt that pay-per-view buy rate when it comes out. I expect this one is going to do very well. Nate Diaz, always such a huge draw, isn't he? A superstar.
Look,
but on this card, does he have a chance?
We've got Figueredo. Figueredo is a mixed martial artist star. We have on this card Israel Adesanya, who is a star or a sports star. Nate Diaz is a superstar. He is a superstar. That's what differentiates him from everyone else. He is one of the few superstars right now plying their trade in the UFC, along with people like Conor McGregor. He's capable of doing huge numbers. You just have to look at his event with Jorge Masvidal and how huge that was. And that was also that was a 5-round non-title main event on a pay-per-view. I think they did it before Conor did it. So, it does show you just how big a star he is.
I'm continuing to have terrible issues with my camera. It's not been a good day. I'll just press ahead, and hopefully when Drake turns up, I might be able to mess it around a little bit. But yes, I'm going for Leon. I just think he's too good, and he's, Nate didn't look great against Masvidal. I think he would have handily lost that fight, maybe by 5 rounds, all 5 rounds, if the doctor hadn't stopped it. He's a heavy underdog here, plus 445. 26% of Fanatics users are picking him. Leon Edwards, minus 580 favorite, 75% of users. No one really sees Nate having a chance here, and I think that's fair, Chris.
You know what? It's so hard to say, and it's Leon Edwards had those 7 minutes against Bilal Muhammad. He had previously a lot of wins and a lot of good performances. Nate has been out for a similar amount of time. Obviously, didn't have a little bit of fighting like Leon did. So out for a very similar amount of time. I think only a few months longer, 6 months longer at maximum. I think it's really tough to say with Nate. He is now 36. He's getting a bit long in the tooth of the division. He's got a lot of scar tissue. You look at that Masvidal fight; it did get stopped because of the scar tissue. It does just show that his face can't really take the damage anymore. Maybe it is a real uphill battle. I really fancy Leon Edwards to win this. I fancy maybe KO TKO if I want to 3 times myself on the greatest app in the world, Fanatics MMA. Download it now, guys. The only thing that keeps getting me going is sometimes I just think Nate, he's so knowledgeable. He could trap him in something. He could use jiu-jitsu to trap him, but Leon is pretty good on the ground. He's pretty solid. Maybe if we go to 5 rounds, you could see Nate scrape a decision. That's a possibility. He is famous for his cardio. He will make you go deep into those 4th and 5th rounds, and he can pull it out of there. But I just think right now, and I think the way the game is, I think Leon is one of the most complete fighters in the whole division. And to tell you the truth, whoever wins this fight is probably getting Usman next. I think if Leon wins, Usman will probably fight Covington first. I think if Nate wins, it's going to be Nate Usman all day, every day.
Well, yeah, Usman would love Nate to win, I think, because think of the money he'll make from that fight.
Oh, yeah, definitely 100%. I mean, look, Nate Diaz could come out there and surprise us all and get the victory, but activity doesn't really seem to do anyone particularly well. Obviously, Nate Diaz has been doing it for a long time, disappearing and coming back, so maybe he's a little bit more used to it.
All right. Dwayne Torres in the comments says, no chance Nate is winning this. Anyone out there think Nate can win, and how? Tell us, please. Let us know. Otherwise, why don't we go down the card now? This is the guy who Leon eye poked to death nearly. Bilal Muhammad is up against Demian Maia. It's a pretty interesting fight, Chris, isn't it? In that division, and interesting they're both on the same card. It's now worked out, and they're going to be right after each other. So you imagine if Bilal beats Demian Maia, he's probably going to call out Leon. I don't know if he'll get that fight, but why don't we talk about this fight? Who have you got, Chris?
See, this is such a tough one. I mean, we've got Bilal Muhammad. He was not winning that fight against Leon Edwards. I think Leon Edwards very clearly won the round. He hasn't really fought anyone of a high level. The 2 highest level guys Bilal Muhammad has ever fought has probably been Jeff Neal and Vicente Luque. They're the only guys you can probably call elite fighters within this division. Both times in those he got found out. He got found a little bit short, wasn't quite able to do it. And then on the other hand, we've just got Demian Maia, who is just absolutely fantastic, a legend of not just mixed martial arts, but also a legend of jiu-jitsu. Probably the greatest ever submission artist we've ever seen in the game. But at the same time, we haven't seen him out fight since the Gilbert Burns fight, which was March last year. So we're talking 15 months ago. So he's got older. It's such a tough fight to call. I just think with the odds, I'm going to play the game a little bit. I'm going to try and maximize my return. I've gone with up the favorites in all the fights so far. So it's a bit of a flip of a coin, but I'm going to go Demian Maia. And it probably won't surprise you that I'm going for the triple. And obviously, I'm combining it with the submission.
All right. I'm with you, Chris. I'm going to go for Mr. Maia. I like those odds. Plus 195. Only 32% of people are picking him on Fanatics. I'm not brave enough to pick a method of victory, though. I always get those wrong. So, anyway, look who's here in the middle, sandwiched between the Hong Kong bread of Chris and Nick.
Right where I should be.
Yes, in Phoenix, Arizona. Maybe yes. We might get into that. Why don't we just get your picks quickly for the rest of this main card, and then we'll talk to Drake about how he is doing in Phoenix. But yes, Drake, Maia or Bilal, who you got?
Oh, it's always so tough with Maia because he's so good at his area of expertise, right? That if he gets you in that area, pretty much nobody can hang with him, right? There's been very few that we've seen, on the ground in particular. We've seen people like Usman be able to survive up against the cage and things like that. But if he gets you to the ground, you're pretty much stuck there or getting submitted. So if Bilal avoids that, I think he should definitely just be fine. If it's easy to forget kind of how good he was doing before that Leon loss, or not lost, but like Chris said, he lost the first round pretty clearly. So it feels like a loss. But before that, he was on fire. He was looking fantastic. I wasn't really a believer in him until his win prior to the Leon fight, and then just had all that momentum halted by that fight, unfortunately. So I think that he can just pick right back up where he left off against Maia if he defends a takedown, which is easier said than done. But ultimately, I think he'll be able to put Maia away before Maia gets him to the ground. But I mean, that could happen very easily. It's so hard to know with Maia.
Is it me or is Drake's Wi-Fi awful? Is it worse than mine? Chris, you're the moderator here.
The noise is a little bit up and down, but it's not a disaster. We've got
Drake
one person with dodgy audio and one person with dodgy video.
We're competing for the worst.
Yes. Let me try and fix that real quick.
All right. Yeah. Why don't we do the final main card pick? Paul Craig and Jamal Hill. Chris, who have you got?
See, this one I was going back and forward. Jamal Hill is such a odd guy. He hasn't had many fights in the organization. He came through Dana White's Contender Series, I believe. Fantastic fighter, absolutely fantastic knockout power. I believe he actually came through basketball and only started competing in MMA in 2017. So he's a bit of a late bloomer, only getting into the sport at age 26, 27. And then I've got Paul Craig, one of my favorite fighters. It's totally odd because Paul Craig has been in the UFC now, I think, for about 5 or 6 years, while Jamal Hill has really just gone on this run over about a year and a half or a year and 9 months. And they're kind of at the same point, and Paul Craig wants to fight him and prove that he is a level above him. But Paul Craig, he's one of those guys, man. He's really been fighting people who aren't ranked. He's really been fighting people about the greatest names. I mean, he did beat Shogun, but it's not, the Shogun, not the world champion Shogun. It's faded Shogun, unfortunately. I think this is such a tough fight to call. I think, though, if he can get it down to the ground, Paul Craig has absolutely every opportunity to win. But you know what? I am well and truly on the Jamal Hill hype train, so I'm going to back Jamal Hill for this one.
Okay. I'm with you. I'm with you, Chris. I'm with you. I think JHK is as well. Let me scroll down there. I think it's a clean sweep. Yes, sir. Drake has also picked him. There you go. There you have it. Minus 305. Heavy favorite. 70% of users on the app picking him. So that's about it for the main card. Do you want to pick any others out, Chris, while we're here? I know there's some interesting prelims. I think Drake's back. Let me add him into the chat. Oh, he adds himself in. He's got the power. He has the power. I forgot. Yeah, who are you picking? You've gone for Jamal Hill as well, Drake.
Yeah, Paul Craig, he's a very sneaky kind of underappreciated guy, I think, at light heavyweight, but I feel like we've seen what his ceiling is already. Yes, he's able to beat kind of these guys who are, the Shoguns, right? And of course, he pulled off that Hail Mary win against Magomed Ankalaev, and he's got another one like that. I forget who that one was against, but these last kind of second Hail Marys, he's never really a guy, though, that dominates unless it is like against a Shogun. And for Jamal Hill, like, you just look at what he's done recently, and that Ovensay Peru win was very impressive. I don't think anybody really expected him to go out there and look as good as he did. So if you're just to go off of most recent performances and compare the competition, where Craig coming off that Shogun win, where it's Shogun at this stage in his career, compared to OSP, which, OSP is not at his best anymore either, but I still think he's a higher level above Shogun. So I think Hill just has plenty of momentum right now, and he's shown to have some knockout power, and we have seen Craig get finished before.
Okay. Do we want to pick any others here? Anything? I was interested in JoJo and Lauren Murphy. I think that's an interesting fight. Why don't we pick that for now? Drake, you've gone for Lauren Murphy. So is JHK.
Oh, wow.
Explain yourself.
Lauren Murphy, another person who's on a roll, 4-fight winning streak, looking better than she ever has, is just very well-rounded, very gritty. I think her striking has shown a lot of improvements in this streak as well. JoJo obviously is the striker out of these two, and one of the more notable strikers, I suppose, at flyweight. Has great, range control, fantastic teeps. She does those nasty front kicks, great in the clinch, those classic JoJo knees, which we got to see in the Jessica Ai fight. And they were kind of gone for a little bit, but again, Jessica Ai. No offense to Jessica Ai, but Lauren Murphy here doing a lot better in recent time. And I just think that she has a more well-rounded game. And for JoJo, man, these are the fights that she hasn't been able to get over in her career, like that hump, that next level fight, the big one that leads to a title shot. Theoretically, she's always come up short in those, or choked necessarily. So it's kind of that same situation, and it makes it feel like the last chance, maybe, because she is 35, and it's kind of weird to think about that. So that's extra motivation for her to maybe treat this as the last chance, which I don't feel like, I didn't get that vibe today when talking to her, but I don't know, man. I just think, again, momentum's on Murphy's side. She's got a more well-rounded game. I think she should be able to impose her will, as long as she doesn't eat anything big. But she's very tough, and it's never been finished. So I think we got to put some respect on Lauren Murphy's name, finally, if we haven't already, on these 4 fights.
All right.
I'm going totally against you there, Drake. I've got JoJo Calderwood all the way.
That's what I like.
I can't go against my Brits in all 3 fights. I feel that British blood coursing through my veins. So I've got to go with Joanne Calderwood. But can I just point out something to fanatics? Why is she fighting out of the Seychelles? I don't even know if she's ever been to the Seychelles. But definitely.
That is interesting.
I think this is JoJo Calderwood's. I think this is her time. I think this is really, I don't want to say this in a disrespectful way, but I think this is her last throw of the dice. I think she's ranked 5th. She's coming against Lauren Murphy, who's ranked 3rd. Obviously, in the division, they are always looking for new blood to throw against Shevchenko, because she is just running for everyone. And I think I just fancy JoJo to get it done. And I think if she does get this win, I think there's a very good chance she could have that title fight and be the first woman from the British Isles to fight for a UFC world title.
I'm pretty biased because JoJo trains with Sasha and Ramona, Hong Kong's own Sasha Palatnikov and Ramona Pasquale syndicate. So I'm just going to pick her based on that. I have stupid reasons for making picks. It makes it more fun.
Yeah.
So there you go. Any other fights you guys want to pick out here? Let me scroll through the card. There's a lot of fights. It's going to be.
JoJo, right? She's married to John Wood, right? Doesn't she own Syndicate?
Fiance. They're engaged.
Oh, fiance.
Yeah.
Hey, can I just if John Wood is watching, put a ring on it, mate.
He did.
Well, yeah, technically, yeah. Sign the paper. Sign the paper. Then sign the paper.
Okay. Yeah. What do you think? Do you want to make any more picks, guys, or what? Any fights?
Yeah, there's a fight I'd like to point out. Eric Anders versus Darren Stewart. I think this is definitely a fight of the night possibility. Darren Stewart is a fantastic fighter. He hasn't really been able to show everything he can do yet in the UFC octagon. I think they're both very, very fairly matched. I think it's going to be a fairly close fight. And I fancy Darren Stewart in this one to get an upset, guys. So I think on this one, back my boy Darren.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going to go for the dentist.
Yeah.
Plus 130. 34% of users going with him, so we could make some points there if he pulls one out. Drake, are you going to join us with Darren, or are you going for Eric?
What did I pick initially? I don't remember. Does it show? Do we still have that feature?
Darren Stewart.
Yeah. Okay. I still feel that way. Just Eric Anders, man. Like, he's been a guy who he he felt a little bit rushed. Remember he got that Machida fight pretty early on in his UFC career, and a lot of people think he won that one. I thought that he just lost. It was close though. But since then, I feel like he's been really up and down and maybe regressed a little bit. Like he was looking very promising, but I don't know, just hasn't been the same since then, despite doing very well against Machida, as I said. But yeah, I just like Darren Stewart seeming a bit more consistent in his game since then. Maybe not record-wise. I don't know. I'd have to look deeper at it. Well, you can see the records right there. But yeah, I don't know. I just like Stewart in this one, and despite having seen how the first fight played out, which was what it was, right?
All right, there we go. You
Just
can. Oh, go ahead,
another
Chris. Sorry.
fight I'd go speak to Drake on, because it's one of the ones I disagree with him on. Judoba versus Brad Riddell. I think Brad Riddell is the one. I'm looking at it. I think we actually haven't seen the best of him yet. He's a fantastic fighter. He's on an absolute roll since joining the UFC, hasn't lost yet. And I just fancy Brad Riddell to keep that hype train going. And I think we just need a few more guys, along with the Kai Kara Francis and Israel Adesanya, to keep waving that flag for City Kickboxing. I mean, last time out, they lost every fight, right?
They did. Wasn't great.
Yeah,
I think.
No,
Kai won.
Kai won. Yeah, he was losing though. He had a bit of a first round comeback there. It's crazy.
But I fancy Brad Riddell out here to get the win. Why are you backing Judoba, Drake?
This one's really a coin flip for me, Chris. I mean, I pretty much go with Dober because of activity. It's been a while since that Brad Riddell fight, and Drew's getting right back in there because he fought on. It was the same card as the Kai fight, right? That was 259. I was there for that one. So yeah, getting right back in there, and seems really motivated to get the stank of the loss out of him. But I totally understand Riddell. I'm just going off activity in this one.
I'm going for Brad Riddell. Sorry, Drake. I'm with Chris here. 65% people are as well on the app. Let us know your picks in the chat if you have one. Yes.
There's one more fight that I disagree with Drake on. I agree with 99% on this single fight. It is the Ben Askren Jr. fight, Chase Super himself. I agree with him on 99% that is it Peterson he's fighting? I agree that he's probably going to lose to Peterson in the whole fight. And
right.
I have an odd feeling he's going to pull out a Hail Mary and win the fight. Does. I hope Chase Super does it, because to tell you what, I love the kid. I think he's a fantastic fighter. At age 21, he's got so much to give, but he is taking an unnecessary amount of damage sometimes in that octagon. I think if you're going to take that damage, I want to see him get the win. So that's the one reason I'm picking Chase Super. I hope he can do it. I hope he can pull out some crazy Hail Mary once again, because, he is that kind of guy. Like, even if he has two fights, I think Dana White kind of wants to cut him. I just don't think it's a good look for a 21-year-old to be taking that much damage sometimes.
Yeah, he's still extremely green, but good enough to obviously pull things out of his ass and win in the UFC. So it's a very bizarre thing to watch Chase Super's career so far. And then Steven Peterson, I wouldn't say the same type of guy, but we've seen how green Chase Super is, so it's hard for me to favor him. But I like the line of thinking, Chris, because it's probably how it's going to go, right? Steven Peterson's probably going to beat him up for 2.5 rounds, and then Chase is either going to pull something off or get very close to doing it. Yeah,
100%. He's got fantastic submission game. He's got fantastic movement. Still got to do a little bit more work on his striking, but there is just something about him. It's kind of like, it's a shame he's got such a fantastic record, because and obviously there's so much more money in the UFC, because in an ideal world, if this was another sport like baseball or NFL, like, this is the kind of guy you might send to like a camp or a feeder league, or in baseball you'd send him to like AA, or in an ideal world the UFC would keep paying him good money but send him to LFA for a fight or two for a year, maybe, to build him up and work on him. But they don't seem to mind throwing him in the deep end and then complaining he takes too much damage afterwards. So
well, it's funny because he did get a developmental deal at first, right? And so I think because he was on the Contender Series and they were like, all right, you're not quite ready, we'll have you signed but not signed, kind of like Greg Hardy was, and then they still brought him in anyways a little bit too quick. So it's just, I don't know, interesting situation with Chase Hooper so far.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, there you go. You can check out the rest of our picks on the Fanatics app. Join our SCMP MMA group if you have not already, and you can see who I've picked, who Chris has picked, who Drake's picked, who JHK has picked, and everyone who contributes to this channel. You can go up against us, and probably you'll beat us because we're not very good, or I'm not very good. But yeah, there's a few other fights we didn't get.
Speak for yourself, Nick.
Yourself, yeah. I'm honest. Yes, I'm honest. Yeah, a few other good fights here, but time is pressing. So we're going to get into some news topics. First of all, though, you're going to throw it to Mr. Drake. Tell us, how is Phoenix treating you? I'm actually going to dip out briefly and sort my camera out, but tell the world, how is Phoenix, Arizona?
It's hot, Nick. It's very hot down here. It is 100 degrees all week, which is very, very warm, especially for me, who's from the Pacific Northwest. And it was raining when I left. It was a nice, cool rain, not cold, but like a perfect type of, degree, around that 69-ish. But see what I did there? So, it's, other than that though, it actually hasn't been too bad. It is hot, but like still just the first day, media day, got in yesterday. Nice and chill. I'm in a very nice spot here, Airbnb. Showed Nick, he liked what he saw. So yeah, man, it's all good so far.
In Hong Kong, so yeah.
The only problem though is that it's not very close to the fighter hotel. It's like a 20-minute drive. So I always try to go right next to the arena. So I'm 5 minutes away from the arena, but everything else is like in Phoenix, 20 minutes away. So that's kind of lame, but whatever. It is what it is.
And just for everyone out there who doesn't understand Fahrenheit, this weekend it's supposed to get in Phoenix to 47 degrees Celsius, which is 116 Fahrenheit. So
47.
just so you know, guys, that's very hot. Yes.
Jesus.
I'll be gone by then, though, hopefully.
Dead or what?
Yeah. Yes, that.
All right. Well, as Dustin Poirier says, stay hydrated, I guess. There we go.
Working on it.
Yeah. So
is it going to be a full crowd, Drake, out there in Phoenix?
Yes, there is, which is interesting because I don't think that Arizona is an open state yet, like Florida or Texas. I don't think it could be, but they still made me wear the mask today because I'm not vaccinated. So that was fun being like the only guy there. Like, oh, pressure's on. But yeah, I don't know. There's going to be a full crowd though, so they're lenient enough. But
do you have to wear the mask in the arena, fans, if you're not vaccinated, or?
I mean, how would they like control that, right? So I would imagine no, because like, hey, you no, there'd be so many people that wouldn't be doing it. So
are the fighters free to travel around? There's no bubble involved for them for domestic fighters or foreign fighters. Are they totally free to do what they want, or are they in some sort of bubble? Is the mass testing going on, or?
Well, to be honest, Chris, there's never been much of a bubble except for Fight Island. Fight Island had a complete bubble, which is probably because it was Abu Dhabi. But yeah, no, I think things are pretty free flowing right now. Saw plenty of people down in the lobby and in the hotel earlier. So yeah, everybody's kind of doing their own thing and mostly maskless, right? So it's pretty normal feeling for the most part.
Yeah, I also want to say absolutely stoked for this weekend. It's not just a great weekend for UFC, also just a great weekend for MMA in general.
Yeah, we have
lots
some other stuff. We got Rising, haven't we, guys? Right after that, and then one championship is pretty crap this week, so not going to spend too.
Nick, you're not doing yourself any favors, buddy.
Oh, I'm in their bad books. I found out that they didn't like that the Bibiano interview I did with them. It ruffled a few feathers, so I'm on the naughty list, I think.
Yeah, so over here in Hong Kong, it's a jam-packed weekend. I think tomorrow morning we start off with PFL, then we have one championship on Friday night. Saturday morning we have Bellator. Sunday morning we have UFC, which will finish around 1 p.m. And then we will roll straight into Ryzen, 3 p.m. to about 2:30 Hong Kong time, all the way to about 9 p.m. Hong Kong time, I guess, and be a very long weekend of enjoying all the fighting. And it would be much better than the fighting we had last weekend.
Oh, that was
Boy.
terrible. Yeah. Well, there's plenty of other topics as well. We wanted to talk about some news topics. Maybe we start with because PFL, Anthony Pettis is withdrawn from his fight. Nathan Schultz comes in, and also Fabricio Werdum is out of PFL 6, which was a little bit later. This was PFL 4 that Pettis was on. So what do we put that down to, guys? It sounds like he said, I think he was ill. Is this maybe Pettis struggling with the format of the quick turnaround in PFL, the tournament style? Is that maybe playing a factor in this? Did he think about that when he signed up? I was right to Drake first.
I'm sure that he did, but the prize, just maybe blinds the vision of all those other little things, which is understandable. $1 million, that's a great enticement, right? So, it's funny. I was talking about this with Pat Auger over at the Body Lock. What was that, last night, actually? And I think that this format, it's very cool. It's great to be so unique and different. I do like that. But in terms of how quickly these turnarounds are, it makes it a lot harder to avoid these kind of issues, and I don't think that they need to cram it all in that much. I think there's ways that they can stretch it out a little bit, because fighting so physical, people need to recover whatever it is, and having to do these weight cuts, which could potentially, this total speculation, have led to, Pettis' illness, because, depleting the body more in a shorter period of time. Like, these problems are bound to happen, which doesn't help. It really hurts the value, I think, of the tournament, and especially when it's named guys like not only him, but Werdum is out now as well. So yeah, man, it's an interesting thing. I think there's ways that they can maybe stretch it out a little bit more. You don't have to have every fight, every card be completely around the tournament. I get it. That's the thing. They want to be that unique, which I think is hurting them a little bit, obviously, but I don't know. It is what it is.
Well, first of all, I have to say, is it Pat Auger, you said?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought he was Pat Auger for forever.
So did I. Everybody does.
Yeah, all day Auger. That makes more sense than all day Auger. Okay, sorry, Pat. And second, I thought about this a lot with the format of PFL, and I know it's not as sexy, but what if every season lasted 2 years or 18 months?
Right.
Like you say, stretch it out a little bit, because I don't like they promote themselves as the group stages, and then you qualify into the playoffs. But you don't really fight everyone in your group, do you? You it's kind of one big group, and you fight 2 random people from that. Maybe it's better to have 2 groups of 4. You fight 3 people over the course of 1 calendar year, and then if you qualify, you're into the playoffs, which takes place in the 2nd calendar year. Or is that going to be not something people are interested in?
I think
the
thing is, I think they want it over a year. I think they want it over a shorter period of time. And I think they want it to mirror other professional sports where, if you want to know who won the Super Bowl in 2008, you type in 2008 champion and you get an answer. If you type in who won the Premier League in 2020, you get an answer. Most other sports, let's be honest, they're competed really over a 1-year cycle, or you have stuff like the World Cup and the Olympics and other events like that are competed on 4-year cycles. I can't think of any sports that go over a 2-year cycle or that have a championship every 2 years. If those sports do exist, they don't exist in the UK. They don't exist in America, as far as I know of. They don't exist in Hong Kong.
Just Olympics, right?
Yeah, just Olympics is on a 4-year period. The Football World Cup is the same, but apart from that, everything is a yearly championship. I think the issue really is they have an 18-week break between the finals of one season and the start of the next. I know it's good to give all the fighters a break. Sometimes they let some of them have fights outside. I think Pettis is allowed to box in his off-season. Werdum can do some jiu-jitsu tournaments, but I think probably you could shorten that gap down to 10 or 8 weeks where you have no events and still keep all the fighters healthy. I think you could spread the fights over a longer period of time. I think getting rid of the quarterfinal stage and just going to a semi-final this season isn't too bad. This year's just 2 group stage. I think maybe the season got shortened a touch because they did push it back a little bit because of COVID. I might not be right. I do look at some other years and they started rather than mid-April. They started more early March. But yeah, I think there is still tweaks to it. But I mean, look, they're in is this their 3rd year and they had a year off? So technically their 4th year of existence. They're still finding this feet. There's still tweaks to this format. I mean, the NFL, any sports league in the world, if you look at the first 4 years, the first 40 years, you'll have many changes in formats until they find something that sticks. I think it's okay. I think we'll see Pettis. I don't think it's to do with the space between the fights in particular as well. I think it could be more to do with the weight cut and having to cut weight so close together. I think could be a thing. He's moved back. It's not like he's cancelled this fight. He's just moved it back 2 weeks. He's given himself an extra 2 weeks to prepare, an extra 2 weeks to cut the weight. And that's it. So I don't really have a problem with it. I just hope he's not gaming the system. And I don't really like the change in opponents that's happened.
Indeed. Okay. Yeah, as Tristan points out, no way Pettis Werdum winning the tourney anymore. He also praises you, Drake, for working so late. That's it. Drake's a workhorse. Yeah, we all are. SCMP MMA. Why are you surprised, Tristan? Okay.
Come on, man.
Yeah. Any more thoughts on the PFL, or we talk a little bit?
I'll just say one thing is the way it can go tomorrow night, because it's everyone else in Pettis' division, is he could be knocked out and not able to get enough points going into his next fight, which would be super anticlimactic, right? They could no way have a main event. It could they if there's no way of him going through to the playoffs.
Yeah, that would be weird. The 2 big star signings of the summer, other than Claressa Shields, so she's still fighting, right? Well, Rory signed the year before, I think.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. But it was cancelled. Yeah, Claressa Shields now, I guess, is the star of this show. What do we expect from her? It's her debut in MMA. I didn't see the press conference, but has her opponent got any hope? I'm not very clued in on this, guys. Drake, you might know more than me. You usually do.
Oh, shucks. Well, for me, man, this is just as simple as a boxer taking on an MMA fighter, right? Because Claressa Shields isn't an MMA fighter yet. Yes, she's trained MMA since December, which isn't a very long time. Yes, it's been with Jackson Wink and Holly Holm, John Jones, all these people, but still not a very long amount of time. So for me, it's just like, we've seen this movie before. We've seen what happens when boxers get in there with MMA fighters. Typically doesn't go well. Look at the James Toney, Randy Couture fight as the very prime example. Yes, there's also Ray Mercer and Tim Sylvia where Ray Mercer just iced him in, 8 seconds? That can happen too. And, Claressa Shields, out of all people, is definitely most capable of doing that because unlike those 2 guys, Mercer and Toney, she is actually in the prime of her career and one of, if not the best female boxer ever. So for me, it's just, she keeps it off the ground. She'll be fine, but I think she'll get taken down because this is an MMA fight, man. She'll be in trouble. So that's how I feel about it until proven otherwise.
I think as well, a lot of people who haven't watched Claressa Shields out there will think, oh, she's a boxer. You watch her boxing, she's a very technical boxer. She doesn't really knock people out. In her world title fighters, she hasn't really knocked people out. Very, very technical, very skillful, but she doesn't have that knockout power. But that is in boxing gloves, so they are much bigger. We are going down to 4 ounces, so it'll be interesting to see if there is a change to her power. The one thing I want to say is, what's the name of the lady she is fighting?
Brittany Elkin.
Yeah, Elkin.
She is 3-6. Now, let me just tell you, Valentina Shevchenko's first 4 fights were against people whose combined record was 0-0. Amanda Nunes, the female GOAT of MMA, fought a person who was 1-1, 0-0, 0-0, 2-2. Then in her 5th fight, she fought someone who was 10-3. So Amanda Nunes and Shevchenko, 2 of the best women out there, they were fighting relatively much lower opposition in their first fights. To fight someone who's actually had 9 fights, I mean, if you ever go to regional MMA, you go to low-level MMA, I mean, even some Invicta, you get people with very, very small records, isn't it, Drake? But it's very rare you see someone who's 0-0 go against someone who's had 9 fights. I've been to backyard shows in Thailand, in the UK, and I've never seen. I can't remember last time I saw someone 0 against someone against 9. You sometimes get that in a gym, but it is very, very rare. I do think we all do have to commend her to coming over to the sport and doing it. You know, she could be fighting someone who was 0-0. I actually think if she was in Bellator, she might be getting someone who is 0-0. Valerie Loeda, who's been training mixed martial arts for far longer, has she fought anyone who's had 9 fights? I don't think so.
Nope.
So
I think all of her opponents have a combined record of less than 9 fights, if not about that. No,
okay,
it's less than that for sure. It's got to be around 5, actually.
So there we go. Ray Sefo, Lauren Mack. You have kind of thrown Clarissa Shields into the deep end over there in PFL, but we do have to round of applause. And you know what? If this is even competitive, if this goes to a decision that she loses 2 rounds to 1, to do that in your first fight would be fantastic. If she even were to win it, well then, what a surprise that would be. Be very interesting to know what people around Winklejohn are thinking, because I would assume they'd probably let the people around her have some say in who she's fighting. I just want to see. And the thing is, the girl she's fighting has a background in jiu-jitsu, which traditionally is not a great match, but we will see how it goes.
There's a question. How do you guys see Brendan and Tyler's fight going? I'm going to bring it up on screen here with the Fanatics, because they got PFL on the app as well, guys. So
got it all.
Got it all. I think they even had the Mayweather-Logan Paul thing. I didn't make any picks for that.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, we won't get into that again, but here we go. Clarissa Shields, Brittany Elkin. There you go. I haven't made my picks yet, but you can get all the stats there. Drake and JHK are picking Brittany. Sorry, JHK also interviewed Brittany. So if you want to get a little bit better of a sense of her, go to our channel. Not right now, because you've got to watch the rest of this show. Obviously, do it afterwards. SCMP MMA. A lot of people picking Clarissa. Yeah, so 92%, unsurprisingly, but we'll see. But Brendan, let's get down here. Yeah, you go. Pettis cancelled, obviously. Brendan, awesome knockout last time, wasn't it, guys? He picked up 6 points, first round knockout. What do you think, guys? I'm going to throw it to you, because you know way more about this than me again.
Chris?
He's throwing it to me, to Chris. Sorry, it cut out when you said I'm throwing it.
I didn't actually say a name, so apologies. Let's go to Chris first, because we went to Drake first last time. Chris, talk a little bit. You know a bit about Brendan, way more than I do. So who you got?
Yeah, I just think
look at the odds on this.
I think Brendan's got this all day, every night. The odds are absolutely crazy for this, but Brendan's so well-rounded, you know, at age 31. I think he has always been trying to get into the big time. He's a fantastic fighter. He's so well-rounded. I mean, the way he opened up, I want to say, was it back on PFL 1, the way he opened up on the prelims with that first round finish. I mean, I've never really been a big PFL fan before. I had it on the background and I was enjoying the show. I think they do the show really well. And I saw Brendan just absolutely knock him down. And it got my attention. He looks so around-it. It looks like he's took the right time until he got to this level. I actually think he's going to go all the way in the tournament, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, Shimon Marias was PFL 1 back in April. It was a great show. I'm picking him on the app. I haven't made my PFL picks, but I'll do it here. Drake, you see Tyler Diamond having any way to victory, plus 300 on the odds, as we said. 35% of people picking him. He's rocking a great mullet, though. Does that help?
Yeah, of course it does. The mullet is power, right? I think, of course, Tyler Diamond can win. I've liked what I've seen from him, and obviously only has one loss. He was on The Ultimate Fighter. What was that? Season 27, 26, one of the more recent ones. And, did fairly well on there. Didn't win it or anything, but, looked good, I thought. But the thing with Loughnane is this guy is just... he's kind of a special talent, and I think that it just has a permanent chip on his shoulder from not getting the UFC contract on the Contender Series. Like, that's been the big story about his career. Everyone was like, okay, how do you not give this guy a contract? He looked phenomenal in that fight. Doesn't get it. And since then, he's just trying to prove, should have gave me that, man. I'm going to make you regret it real bad. And since then, he definitely has done that. I mean, knocking out Shayman Rice the way that he did and as quickly as he did, that's very impressive. Shayman Rice was a guy who was in the UFC, and he's had some good performances in his career as well. So Loughnane, I think, is just getting better and better with each fight. And these odds are, I was surprised to see that because I think Diamond deserves a little bit more respect than that. But again, I'm not going to pick against Loughnane, so I guess it's fine. But this is going to be a good fight, I think, for sure.
Yeah,
Diamond will put up a fight.
Fantastic fight. I think Tyler is ranked 4th, I think, at the moment in the standings. He did get a win in his opening bout, and Brendan can beat him. He can knock him out of contention for the playoff round. He can solidify first round, and in effect, he'll fight the bottom seed. I think it's all in his hands, and what you do have to remember is, okay, you might have lost out on the opportunity to go to the UFC, but if you can win PFL, you get that $1 million, baby.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me try and bring this down. I'm having more technical difficulties. I think I've frozen again. Am I back? Am I all right?
Yeah,
I think
there you
are.
Okay, all right. Well, why don't we had one more topic, I think, or maybe two rolled into one. What's going on with Paulo Costa, guys? So he's out of his fight with Jared Cannonier. Gastelum has stepped in again, as he does whenever Costa is fighting. And he's making noise on Twitter. I would bring up the tweets, but as part of my meltdown today, technical meltdown, it's because I've had to switch.
Just leave it.
I've got a laptop. My one is being fixed in the office, so they've given me a temporary one, but I haven't logged into Twitter and everything, and I can't remember my password right now, so I can't bring up tweets. But yeah, he's making a lot of noise, guys, isn't he? About fighter pay now, and I should be paid more. I've main evented cards. I think UFC fighters deserve way more pay. But has he got an argument? Can he make one?
Yes, and isn't his issue as well not to do with just the fact that he got more money for the Adesanya fight, but isn't one of his issues that he wants more money than his normal contract to fight main events and to fight 5 rounds? Because he says he doesn't understand why he would get the same amount for a 3-rounder and then gets the same amount for a 5-rounder where he's main event. And I think, isn't that part of his issue?
That might be it. But yeah. Dana White didn't like it, and he basically laughed it off, didn't he, Drake? And there's no way Costa's going to win this fight. We've seen John Jones isn't even winning this battle.
No.
John Jones, Paulo Costa is not. So what can he do realistically? He's still contracted, isn't he? I don't know how many fights he has left, but what do you make of it, Drake?
I mean, the thing is, right, like, as you said, Nick, I think MMA fighters in general are just forever, perpetually going to be underpaid. These guys deserve millions for what they do for a living, but it's going to take a while to get there if that ever happens, unfortunately. But in this case of Paulo specifically, like, I agree with him, what he's saying, but man, his timing is just terrible with it, specifically for the reason that he's coming off of a very one-sided loss. Yes, it was in a title fight to Adesanya, but then after that, pulls out of the fight with Whitaker, makes these excuses about wine and being hungover against Adesanya, and then withdraws from this one. Like, his timing to come out about this is just horrible. Like, zero leverage whatsoever. If he was coming off of, let's say, a starching of Cannonier, if he went out there and just destroyed him real quick, there you go, buddy. There you go. You should be very open about it right there. Then you have some support. Like, I'm not seeing much support from the fans from him in this case because of what recently happened. And that's because of his terrible timing. Paulo, like, you're right. You should be frustrated about fighter pay, especially when we see at the YouTube stuff, which I think he pointed out with Logan Paul and Jake Paul, all that stuff. But his timing is just very bad right now to do this.
Well, I have figured out how to get onto my Twitter, so let's bring it up.
Congratulations.
Yeah. One small victory for me today. I've had loss after loss.
The problem is fighters always try and get fans on the side and argue with Dana White, which is really not the best thing to do. If you're gonna do something, you should be arguing. You shouldn't try and get the fans on your side. You should be trying to get other fighters on your side and try to form some sort of union. I don't really understand why you have to come out and put all this stuff on Twitter. I mean, look, we've had Masvidal recently have pay issues. We've had John Jones had pay issues. We've had Paolo Costa, etc., etc. These guys should really be coming together because together you would assume they have a little bit more leverage, right? But this is what happens when you have, I don't know how many athletes, about 700, is it? They have in the UFC?
A lot,
yeah, 600-ish maybe.
Yeah, but they have a lot and they can always replace someone very, very easily.
Right.
Yeah, I'm scrolling through the timeline. He sort of made various tweets about it. Less than 350K is a joke. How much would you pay me to show up? Be generous. Time to drink something. Hey, Paolo's funny on social, isn't he? He's yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I mean, if Paulo Costa went on a 4-fight losing streak, got cut from the UFC, would he probably make more than 350K if then he signed with Triller and fought Jake Paul?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we can see all these tweets. The top one, he's posted last night or today saying, kind of many amazing fans of MMA come to me in multiple places saying, we hope to see you fighting soon. When you're going to come back? I feel really bad for them. Unfortunately, I won't make the big show. I don't know. To get some payment as unranked fighters, makes sense. There you go.
Is he calling out the Big Show?
I think so. He saw that Floyd Mayweather knocked out the Big Show.
Like, I can do that.
So yeah, probably was watching that Logan Paul fight. Anyway, yeah, Paolo's not going to win that fight. We'll see how that works out for him. Dana White, though, another thing I wanted to talk about. Dana and what is it? The health insurance they were asking him about. I think it's Farah Hanoun for UFC Arabia, and no, nothing against Farah. Is it Farah or Farah? I don't know how to pronounce it, but I think she's excellent. She does a great job for MMA Junkie. That's right. But she has this side gig with UFC Arabia, and she was asking Dana about. Can you hear that in the thing?
You gotta share audio. So right now,
Jesus Christ. Okay, let me have a look at that. But yeah, she asked that Dana had said something about bringing in health insurance soon, and he corrected that he never actually meant to say that. He was responding to someone else's question. So that's not even on the table Instagram. For them.
And I responded to the wrong guy.
Yeah, what do you make of that? You know, he kind of laughed it off.
I was wrong, actually.
It wasn't.
I actually noticed that later.
Poor old Farah had to just kind of nervously go through it. I felt a bit bad for her, but what he's saying is a little bit crazy to me.
And you had mentioned, I think, the Q&A that you did with Karen Bryan that somebody.
Yeah, we can hear it. I can hear it.
Okay, I've just sorted it out.
Is that something that you've recently kind of been working on? Do you kind of have any update or information on that?
Yeah.
There you go.
That wasn't a Q&A. That was on Instagram.
Right.
And I responded to the wrong guy when I said soon. That was wrong, actually. I actually noticed that later that I had said soon, but it was on the wrong post. I wasn't talking to that guy.
Okay.
Somebody else.
Okay.
So I have a question for you guys about this, because as you said, Nick, I think Farah is great.
Yeah,
but she was getting a lot of shit for this, for not following up. Right. So that was what I was going to ask you guys. Is that's a little unnecessary, right?
100%.
I've had this, where I get asked, why didn't you follow up with that? Why did you give them a free pass? Why don't you ask the hard questions? MMA is an access sport, and if you piss off Dana White, you're not going to get anything. You're probably going to be banned. Look at Ariel Helwani. If she goes and like needles him for 20 minutes about why he's not going to bring in health insurance, she's not going to be presenting on UFC Arabia much longer. You know what I mean?
You can only ask the hard questions in the UFC. You can only really ask the hard questions if you're from a powerful enough organization. So maybe Stephen A could say that to Dana White, but there's very few other people who are probably of that level. If Dana White was on CCTV in China and a Chinese presenter asked him about fighter pay, he'd probably have to answer because he doesn't want to piss off China. There are certain people who can ask it. If you've got enough clout behind you, 100% you can. But that's not most people, or you've got to have your own inbuilt fandom so you can be protected from not having access. So like someone like Luke Thomas and Brian Campbell, who've got all their stuff at Showtime, they can be a lot more critical, or you've got to be someone who doesn't care, like John Nash. John Nash really doesn't rely on ever really going to events to publish his articles, right? So he can kind of say and do what he wants, and anyone who does rely on it, yeah, they've got the swords of Damocles hanging above your head.
Yeah, like I said earlier with Bibiano, I've not made any friends through that interview I did with him. So hopefully I'm not a complete shill, and I do ask some hard questions sometimes. But
just on a slight side note, I think I don't know if anyone's really wrote about this in the media yet, but if you do look now in the Middle East and North Africa, they do have UFC Arabia. They have their own television channel. They have their they don't have Fight Pass there now. You just download UFC Arabia and you subscribe to that. Do you think they will copy this model for any other markets? It just seems to make sense, right? To just have your own over the top. Yeah. I haven't seen anyone really talk much about it, and then all of a sudden I'm thinking that, is it the last 6 months-ish? UFC Arabia have been getting loads of interviews.
Since Fight Island started, because I remember Farrah was there for that. So yeah.
But if you follow like UFC Europe or UFC Canada or UFC Asia, they don't really have like reporters in the same way as UFC Arabia do and whatnot, of the same kind of access.
Well, we should have UFC Hong Kong. Why not?
You don't want to work for Dana, Nick.
I do not. No, I do not. Anyway, what was I saying? I think that's it. I think that's about it. We've gone over an hour, so that should be all good.
Yeah. Just before we wrap it up, tell me, which event are you 100% watching this weekend, and which event is like your little sleeper for the hardcore fans? So which one do you think every fan should be watching, and what would be your pick to all the fans out there watching, guys?
Well, I'm very excited for this UFC card, but I'm also kind of intrigued by Ryzen, and I know Drake loves Ryzen, so he's going to be watching that as well. We're gonna maybe, I don't know, you'll be doing a double whammy, but I would love to maybe do a Ryzen recap with you, Drake, maybe the next day.
Yeah, I'll need sleep. I'll need sleep.
Yeah, but yeah, tell us a little bit. I imagine that's what you're going to say. You're pretty hyped about this Ryzen card, so you know more than me. So why should everyone be watching it?
Oh boy, there are so many reasons to be watching this Ryzen event. First of all, Tokyo Dome show, which is the big selling point of this event. First time there's been an MMA event overall in Tokyo Dome in 18 years since Pride was there. So massive deal from that regard. Yes, it's a smaller card, but the fights that are on it are very good fights. You got the start of the Bantamweight Grand Prix, the 16-man Bantamweight tournament. You got the lightweight title fight, which Tofik Musayev, Roberto Satoshi de Souza, one of the best matchups in MMA across the board right now. You do not want to miss that one. Featherweight champion Taka Saito is back. He's in a non-title fight, but he's taking on Tofik's training partner. And then in the main event, Mikura Sakura, who lost to Saito for the title, is taking on Kleber, who that fight is undeniably going to decide who will face Saito, assuming he beats Karamov. So it's like an unofficial featherweight tournament there too. And then Sudario's back, who is a very interesting heavyweight prospect to watch. Tension's fighting 3 different people in one fight. Each round is going to be a different opponent, and we don't know who the third one is. So just for that alone, you should tune in. But
can I just say my favorite Ryzen fight for the weekend, Inui versus Ishiwatari? I think it's going to be a banger.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. That is definitely, I think, the highlight for me in regards to the bantamweight tournament for sure. But overall, that lightweight title fight for me is just chef's kiss. Beautiful. Yeah, there's something for everybody on this card. You do not want to miss that one. And I'm going to hope that I don't overlap too badly as I'm leaving the arena and, finishing up the work at UFC 263. But I will definitely be tuning in and do my intermission show and all that stuff at the Body Lock as well. And then, yes, Nick will work on a post-fight the day after when I rest up because it's going to be nonstop for me.
Well, yeah, I think we've got Euro 2020 as well. England's first game is on Sunday night, so I'll be watching that right about after Ryzen finishes, I think, or is there? So no rush, Drake. I'll probably be busy having a few drinks on my roof.
While I do agree, I think Ryzen will be amazing. I think as much as I want to say PFL, I think with Pettis pulling out, it's not quite there. I'm not going to shill out to one. I think their event on Friday night Hong Kong time is POO. For those of you that can't spell. But I actually think the one I'm gonna go with Bellator. This is a Bellator 260. You got Amosov versus Douglas Lima. Douglas Lima, just an absolute beast, arguably one of the best fighters outside the UFC in the world. Probably the best welterweight outside of the UFC. I do want to say, but he's fighting Amosov, who is 25-0. He's been an absolute beast, and it's just an absolutely fantastic fight. We've got the return of Aaron Pico, who is a fantastic guy. And you know what? He seems to have found his feet after going from to a proper big gym to a super camp, in effect. He has taken it to another level. But for me, you know what? I know there's 3 Brits on that UFC card, Darren Stewart, Paul Craig, and Jojo Calderwood. But to me, on this Bellator card, and it could be the last time we see him, we have got someone who will be on the Mount Rushmore of UK MMA 100%. I think he must have over 65 fights now. Paul Daly versus Jason Jackson. And I'm just going to say one thing, guys. If you watch Paul Daly's last fight, if you watch any of his fights, man, if you guys want to watch 2 guys go at it, stand and bang, it is just going to be, come on, this is going to be one of the fights of the weekend. I would be very surprised if this fight was a snooze fest. I just don't see it. Paul Daly he's pretty much come out right now and said he's just going to fight until he loses or wins the Bellator championship. Keeps saying he's going to retire, but he just keeps winning. So good luck to him. I think, yeah, it's a fantastic weekend of events.
That Hamasi fight was a fight of the year candidate, man. That was insanity.
Absolute madness.
I think you're wrong, Chris. This this card is amazing. I'm going to bring it up now. Full blast.
There's also Invicta, you guys. Phoenix tournament, one night tournament, atom weights. That'll be fun too. Yeah. At the same time as Bellator, actually.
No, as hard as I try, I cannot dress this card up. It is not great. Because they recorded all these fights months ago, and probably on different days. So there's no theme or
I feel so bad for the fighters in that regard, man.
Yeah. And nothing against the fighters. They've gone and done what they have to do, but only 4 fights on this card, it looks like. So yeah, maybe I might watch it. I'm sure you'll watch it, Chris. You watch everything.
Well, it's on a Friday night, and I've got no plans, so I could have a cheeky glass of wine and watch the fights. I may well.
It's only 4. It's only.
It's not really a standout fight. I might have better things to do my Friday night. Touch wood. And I'm going to give a shout out. I know, just give a little shout out to Victor. I'm going to give a shout out to one more, a lesser known promotion, but a little favorite of Nick's, Icon Federation, out in Iola, in Mexico, the home of El Chapo, and many wonderful people, unlike El Chapo. But we do have our girl from Hong Kong, Ramona Pascal, fighting. The show kicks off. I think she's fighting around 12 o'clock Hong Kong time. I think it'll be about 9 p.m. America time the day before, something like that. I know there's no bubble down there in Mexico. She's had to go in, so it shouldn't be too bad. But hopefully she can go out there and get a result for Hong Kong, being at the PI Institute. Hopefully, if she can win there, she can maybe get a look in at LFA, touch wood.
Absolutely. We'll be cheering her on, and you can check out John's interview with her on the channel. JHK spoke to Ramona. Always fun. Drake, you spoke to her, didn't you, as well, a month ago? She was, or 2 months, she was cornering
Jacksonville.
in Jacksonville. So she's ready. She sounds ready as hell for this, and I'm sure she's gonna go put on a performance and inch closer to fulfilling her UFC dream. Shout out to Ramona. I know how hard she works, and yeah, there we go. It's going to be good.
And
Crazy.
Shout out to Drake and how hard he works, man. Love you out there in Arizona putting in work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Drake, yeah, what have you got coming up? Fill us in. What's it look like there, your schedule?
Yeah, so you guys, tomorrow is the press conference. So that'll be Diaz and Edwards, and then the 2 title fights. That'll be going down at 4 p.m. Pacific time. So you do the math on that, time zone converting. But that is going down tomorrow. That's all for tomorrow. Then we have weigh-ins on Friday. Of course, the official in the morning, and then we'll do ceremonials again in front of a crowd, and that will be not in the arena, but the same place as the press conference tomorrow, which is a theater area. And that'll be, I think, around the same time as the press conference that is happening tomorrow. So around 4 p.m.-ish Pacific time on Friday, and then the fights. So yeah, just kind of that fun stuff. And in the meantime, today, knocked out all of the media day discussions with everybody below Diaz and Edwards to the early prelims. So the prelims, I guess if you want to call them, and then Damian Maia, Bilal Muhammad, and Paul Craig and Jamal Hill, which are on the main card. And then I also caught up with Pani Kianzad, who is the number 11 ranked bantamweight right now, competing in the last fight of the early prelims against Alexis Davis. Got a one-on-one with her. You can check that out here on the channel, of course. That's where all the content is. That's where you want to be. So got that there. And then outside of stuff, I do have interviews with Marina Rodriguez, Diana Abzaragova, and Ayaka Mura coming out. So
yeah, that's I need to do that. I need to.
That's on our boy.
That's on me. Yes, I'll be getting through that.
Great stuff though with them.
Yeah, I've also got Christian Lee. I just spoke to today,
Awesome.
and I think I've got Demetrius Johnson at 1 a.m. tonight, which should be interesting.
Oh, wow.
See if I can stay awake that long. I'm glad I just reminded myself of that, so I don't go out and get drunk. Okay.
So that'll be like morning over here, right? So.
So yeah, I'm getting a bunch of text messages in the group chat from Leon. You getting those as well, Chris?
He's back.
We have the Vax Holloway group in the.
Yeah, we had to create a separate one for all of his ideas because 20 messages every morning around 9 a.m., which I guess would be about 10 o'clock your time over there, Drake.
I would get him.
It's not a nice way to wake up with conspiracy theory after conspiracy theory. Yeah, man. I've never known one man to hate Dr. Fauci so much. You know,
well, we should invite Drake into this group, maybe.
Yeah.
Vax Holloway. It's like a separate group from Post-Fight Podcast.
Right.
Group. So you're missing out on all the
I sure am.
Yeah,
guys, and anyone out there, man, if you want to come in and join in some of the banter, man, if you want to chat with us, if you want to see our picks, if you want to see a little bit more about what we're picking when it comes to the Rise and when it comes to the PFL, jump on the greatest app out there, Fanatics Fantasy MMA. I'm actually over in some of the other groups, on the Twitter group, on the Reddit group. If you want to jump onto there, I think they've got Rising on there. We've got PFL in our group, so it's going to be an absolute banger. I'm looking forward to it. I fancy myself to do a very solid 50-50 probably over the UFC, PFL, and Bellator this weekend. But, hey, 50-50 is not too bad.
Can't win them all, Chris.
Yeah, well,
unless you're one of those cheaters who does one fight for every event.
Yeah, there is a few out there.
Okay,
Scoundrels.
well, I'm gonna give myself the go home cue. I need to eat breakfast. It's 2:15 p.m. It's been a busy morning.
A brunch.
Thanks, yeah, whatever you call it. Thanks to Chris and Drake. I really appreciate it, especially you, Drake, jumping on despite your busy schedule. And I know you've had a long day, so that's so cool. And yes, as we said, Drake's going to be there all week for us. So look forward for his content. Chris, I'm sure we'll be back on Sunday for a recap of UFC 263 in some form. Other than that, you got JHK's live show tomorrow. Who are the guests? Do we know? Let's have a quick look.
And you know what, guys? What's absolutely perfect about not Drake show, JHK's absolutely awesome show. One, he has some of the best guests on there. What actually makes it absolutely perfect, it generally slots up right in between the intermission you get on the PFL prelims and the main card. I don't understand why there's such a big gap. I don't think anyone understands. I don't even think the PFL understands.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely awesome because it fills in that gap between your prelims and your main card. And you get some of the best voices out there in all of MMA media.
Yeah, come check it out tomorrow on this channel. I think it's 9 p.m. Eastern time, whatever that means. Yeah, here you go. It's E. Spencer Kite of UFC.com, great writer, and Dylan Bowker of Cage Cypress. Love Dylan.
Yeah.
Great guy. That should be a fun episode. I'll be tuning in for show. All right, I'm gonna get out of here. Gotta eat. So thanks, Chris. Thanks, Drake, and we'll see you all again next time.